5 Pound Snap is on the Milo Show. They're doing a song called 1273, spelled out, not with the numbers, 1273, on their new album, White Birch Lakes. Find it online. Check it out. 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 I never know how to start these things. I usually just introduce myself as Jeff, and we're welcoming everyone to the Milo Show.
Seems like a great way to start a show.
We're here in L Club, and I'm joined by Veronica and Shawn Knight. We're here to talk about Berserker Fest, Berserker 4, which is taking place April 14th and 15th at the Crowfoot. The 4th annual Berserker Fest. Let's talk about how this thing got started and what is this thing.
About 4 years ago, I started doing a poster event at the DIY Street Fair.
Yeah.
Like I do screen printed posters for people that don't know, or here and there nowadays.
If anybody else doesn't know, Shawn is also in the band Childlight. We should introduce him.
That's true too.
Also a graphic designer. Okay.
And a graphic designer, yeah. And so anyways, DIY Street Fair happens in Ferndale every summer, and I'd usually have a poster tent there, and there'd be several other artists that I'm friends with that would have their own little tents scattered throughout the thing.
And I lose all my money there.
Yeah, it's a great place and a great
my house
way
gets decorated.
Yeah. And I, at that point, came up with an idea to, hey, what if we took all of these poster artists, instead of having them scattered throughout, get one big tent, put all the artists in there, and it can be kind of like a cool event within an event. anyways, that went well, and that was a collaboration with Chris Johnston that was involved with putting on that DIY Street Fair, who also runs the WAB and the Loving Touch. It was my first time organizing something quite like that, multiple artists in one place, and I was just like, well, maybe I could do something like this for my other passion, which is the rock band kind of stuff.
While you're here, we should also talk about what kinds of bands were typically at Berserker.
These are hardcore punk and heavy metal bands.
Heavy bands.
Yeah.
And some weirdo bands.
And some weirdo bands.
We
don't want to keep it just make it sound
all
like that.
under an umbrella that is under the hardcore punk and metal realm.
Yeah.
But they all have branches that go into different things, I think.
Yeah, I kind of generalize it sometimes as extreme underground music.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Because that can apply just as much to your death metal band as it can to your noise band.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about your role in this, Veronica.
I basically I take care of acquiring the bands.
Okay.
I will work with agents and work with the bands to get. I do a lot of the planning part of things. We'll get together and then we'll talk about which bands we should invite, and then we end up choosing our core, and then we try to go for the tops first, and then we work our way, because we want to support the local scene as much as we can, which is most of the lineup is local and underground bands that a lot of people don't know of yet, that we want people to experience. He'll meet people while he's on other bands while he's on tour.
Right.
I will have my bands go out, or the bands, I am a booking agent too, so I will have bands that I have go on tour, and they'll play with a band they'll tell me about. So it's kind of like the left brain and the right brain come together, and that's how this works for us.
You guys make a perfect couple.
Yeah, it works out good.
Yeah.
We're burying the lead here. Berserker 4. Who's the headliner?
Guar.
Guar.
We have Guar one of the nights on the Saturday night. That's the big one, and of course Weed Eater and the Obsessed is big for us.
Yes.
But Guar was also, Guar's been a big deal for Shawn, because I love Guar too. But Guar is he's
it's one of the bands that I can say with a fair amount of confidence truly warped my brain as a maybe 14-year-old boy, and kind of I set me on a little bit of a different course, or so that's what they made an impression.
That's what they do.
On me.
And it's nice. You have pretty much 50 or 40% are bands coming in from out of town.
Right.
The rest are local bands.
Right.
Against Grain, Cat Museum, to name a few. Childlight will be there.
Yeah. Yeah, we're excited for the headliners for the Friday night. We've got Off and I Hate God and Negative Approach, and to me, those are he dabbles more in the metal side of things, and I dabble more in the hardcore punk side of things. So there's a lot, having Keith Morris at our festival and we'll have a lot of legendary musicians that are in also other bands, like Brain Tentacles is a great band that has members of other bands that they're Dave Whitty
namely Dave Whitty from Municipal Waste. And it's cool to be able to bring
Charming
in other
band
bands.
names, all of these.
Yeah. Cemetery Piss is one of the favorites, I think, that has come across.
Yeah, we've always had that's always been part of it. Sometimes it's a lot of fun just looking at the name, stepping outside of it.
Right. We're gonna scroll the names of everyone now, so you get a flavor.
From somebody else's perspective that doesn't know. I remember a couple. For Berserker 2, everybody, all the staff at the Loving Touch was really excited about Shitfucker. They were like, we can't wait for Shitfucker. I've never heard 1 second of their music, but I cannot wait for Shitfucker.
But that's what they're called, so yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. What makes it all worthwhile? What's been most fulfilling about all the work that goes into it?
I think
what do you love about it?
There's so many levels to it that I really... Live shows for me have always been a huge part of who I am. I would go to 5 bands for $5 on Friday nights, and shows that in Saginaw, Jamestown Hall. But I would go to these concerts, and I would get so excited to see new music and to discover. I grew up in a little town, so going to concerts was my outlet of getting out. So having this and being a part of this, and we have this festival, and throughout the night we have people hugging us and thanking us, and everybody's so thankful about it,
Yeah.
and happy, and it reminds me of how I felt when I would go to those 5 bands for $5 shows and discover new music. We do a Berserker sampler that we post. We'll get one song from every band that we will. It's a Bandcamp sampler.
Yeah.
It's free, and you can go and discover all this and get excited, just as excited to go see these bands live
Right.
once you discover it. And that's always been. I think the discovery is the part that I love the most about this.
Also broadens their minds because
Yeah.
if you think of shitfucker or guar or whatever or
Right.
just the word metal
Yeah.
usually kind of scares people
Right.
because
Sure.
it's an intense music.
Yeah.
But you can come and discover that it might be something that you like.
Yeah.
You might also get a hug.
Yeah, and
I
sometimes
will give you as
Yeah.
many
the
hugs
discovery
as you need.
and the scariness is kind of
Yeah.
intertwined. I think anybody that's been into that kind of stuff, some of this more aggressive, dark music, probably has early memories of either checking out a record or looking at the band photo or the cover or going to a show, and those kind of butterflies in the stomach or whatever. I remember going to see, when I was in high school, a buddy and I drove out, I must have been 16, drove out to in the boondocks, some VFW hall to see a band called Lucifer's Hammer from Jackson, Michigan, where they were playing up somewhere north. And just being these little scrawny teenagers and being like, I think this is the place that the band is. It wasn't a bar. It was just like, I think it's in this door. I can hear the music, and you go in there, and it's just like, it's real dark. They had like candles on the keyboard.
Fog machine,
and
maybe.
Probably a lot of I'm pretty sure there was a lot of fog, and just the silhouettes of all these big, sweaty, shirtless dudes, and like the dance floor is all covered in beer. People are falling over, and we just go in. And we're like, it's like, this is really scary, but really exciting.
I'm going to caption that memory with a magic moment.
Yeah,
and you're giving that to people with Berserker now.
There's
going to be, because it's an all ages show, folks.
Yes,
it's either giving it to people or for the old timers like myself, maybe kind of rekindling some of that, or bringing a little memory back of that kind of thing. Yeah,
this might be someone's first Berserker coming up. We'll have info after this interview, some links, and I want to thank you guys for being here. Berserker 4, Guar.
Yeah,
thanks.
Thank
Why
you.
not?
Cut. That's it, guys.
Great.
Thank
That's
you
it.
so much.
Up next, the Whiskey Charmers are playing a song, Dirty Little Blues, off their new album, The Valley. Valley. It's called Valley. It's out on April 14th, and the release party is at Otis Supply. So here they are with Dirty Little Blues.
Well, I got these dirty little blues, and I keep getting dirtier for you. Now one thing I can't refuse, when I get these dirty little blues, so let me ride on
here on the Milo Show again, we're joined by Nicola and Adam of Adult, and I'm thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much. Adult with a period. They just put an album out 2 weeks ago. They've released several albums over the years and singles and EPs on Ghostly International and with their own label, Ursat's Audio. Both of these individuals are artists in many realms, not just in electronic music, but also photography, video installations, painting, a lot. Their latest album, Detroit House Guests, is what we want to talk about today. You invited some folks over to your place. Tell me about where the idea of this album came from, and when, and what inspired it.
I would say we probably came up with the idea in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, we were living in an apartment, and we were kind of known in the touring racket of our place was a good place to stay if you were on the road. So,
sure.
We housed a lot of bands when they passed through Detroit. And I think the idea sort of stemmed out of that when we eventually moved and bought a pretty large house and spent 7 years renovating it. When the opportunity came up to maybe get some funding for the project, it was like, let's try and do this.
You were funded by the Knights Art Foundation to let people come over to your house for 3 weeks at a time. Is that kind of how it happened? Tell me more, and tell me about when you kind of got that green light, you could start making that list, or were you having that list in your head all along of who you wanted to invite?
I would say half of the list had been in our heads for a long time and had been spoken of, like with the artists like Douglas McCarthy. Like we would see him on the road and it would be like, man, I wish we could collaborate.
Yeah.
But.
And then other artists, Dorrit Chrysler, for example, we played Moog Fest, and we were fortunate to get to watch her in a performance, and it was magical.
Right on.
It's like, holy shit, we need to get this woman to Detroit. So it's things like that.
But that's also part of it. It's not just. It would be great to have a chance to collaborate. You wanted to get these folks into the realm of Detroit. Can you talk about that and why it was important? Was it important to see what the environment did to the creation process for them coming in? Something like that?
I think partly for us, we're a very strange unit. You don't see this very often of being together 24/7 and collaborating. And we think that affects how the music happens, because generally we tend to be in the same mindset because everything is happening to you at the same time. So we just wanted to see not only Detroit, but then having, the person couldn't stay in a hotel. They had to live with us so that you were experiencing everything together.
So it was, yes, how does Detroit affect what's being created, but it's also how is this incredibly domestic situation where you're pretty much doing everything together in a living environment, not in a studio.
Right.
How does that affect the music?
Breakfast, laundry, afternoon tea, 24/7.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's kind of an interesting approach, personally.
Yeah. So what did you find most rewarding, or when you think back on, or does something about the experience stand out at all?
Well, there was 6 individual voices, so that's really difficult to just nail down a certain one. I can give.
I don't think he's asking for a certain one. It's like overall, what was the main thing?
Well, there was so many great things just from take Dorrit Chrysler.
Yeah.
She did a theremin workshop she has this thing called Cool Kids. What is it? Cool Kids Theremin Workshop.
Yeah.
And she did that in the Mike Kelly mobile homestead in the garage. So that, is when you take it outside of what we were doing together, here she's getting the opportunity to do this in Detroit. Robert Lowe did a performance with Biba Bell, who's a local dancer and choreographer. He did a piece with her up at Cranbrook. So it's even like these, we're working together, but then some of the artists were also then going into the community and doing some really special things.
I'm just curious if you could talk about the experience of being an artist in residency, if you've had experience doing it, and what it was like for these artists to be residents for you. Because I'm just interested in how that affects the creative process, to be in a place that is foreign, to be outside of a comfort zone. But then again, that presupposes that you have comfort zones.
Right.
One of our requirements when we were picking, like we kind of made a criteria list, and one of them was that every artist had to be an actively touring artist, because touring musicians can just walk right into a new spot, and it's your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. They're in transit all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
So same with us. I mean, so that was great. I mean, some artists were ready to start in 4 hours, and we were like, "Whoa, let's hang out for a little bit longer, and
Wonderful.
Be relaxed." And then you realize, well, they're not relaxed. Like, why should they? They're ready to go.
Right.
And
we didn't relax before we started this interview. They just walked right in. They're here. You guys are doing good.
Thank you.
About on a music fan level, if folks were coming to this after Why Bother or Things Fall, the last few ones, what can adult fans expect? Like, how might this be distinguished from the last stuff?
Well, I mean, I think because while there was a third person, we're still two people.
Right.
So it does have a heavy amount of us.
it's 2/3 adult.
Yeah.
So it's still...
Plus an extra topping each time.
Yeah.
Right. So it still feels very much like us, but different.
But we've always
But
tried.
it's going... Each song is like a different path, potentially.
Yeah, and the record took a year to make, so you have the first artist, Douglas McCarthy, coming at the beginning of the year, whatever year that was, 2015, and then Michael coming at
At the end of...
December.
Yeah,
that
2015.
So it's January to December, and everybody's touring. It was hard to
Right.
get 6 artists to nail down a time period. So I think there's also, like with The Way Things Fall, the album before, it's the most concise adult album because we wrote it in a really concentrated period of time.
Yeah.
I think we wrote the whole album in about 8 weeks.
I was going to say 2 months, so that's it.
Yeah.
And then this is a year, so
Right.
that changes the record as well. But, when we went into it, the Knight Foundation was really incredible organization to work with because they made clear in the contract that the grant was for the collaborative process, not for an album. So we didn't have that pressure. And we really didn't think there was any way that we could have an album
That it
after
would be
this.
cohesive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that even with some artists, maybe we just kind of like, it's not really working. Like, we don't collaborate.
Right.
And it was like everybody was just super professional, and it was just like, let's work. And through work, we achieved the goal.
Just seems like it was a really process for growth. Everyone could grow from an
Yeah.
experience
Yeah,
like this.
absolutely.
So we grew a ton.
Yeah.
And just be that much more adaptive.
Yeah.
Detroit House Guest is out now on Mute. Thanks for being here, Adult.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, dog. I'm ready, dog. Almost.